Okay, so we placed a ramp, we put a wall, we understand the slope, we knocked off the top of the hill. Now we need to place the garage. So most of these homes have 4-car garage, and those are like a huge dog. You just have to deal with it head on. So if the ramp is going over here, we need to create a place for the cars to maneuver. So here I quickly compose the 4-car garage, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're a little oversized. Typically they're 12 feet. I made them 13 feet, and each one of them, the depth about minimum is 21 feet. I made them about 23/24 feet. So then I created essentially a support space here, and I created an open primary space which actually can expand in this area. And this is where you guys were having fun placing some structures over here and having a good time. Let's go over some overall dimensions so we have a sense of dimension over here. So I just want to quickly give you a size over here, so that gives you 23 feet. Let's give us a size over here so we have a sense of what we have here, so that's 50 feet. I just want to quickly go over here and give you a sense of what's going on with our dimension over here. So that's 35. That gives you a sense of dimension and scale, so you know what size, where you want to place things. Now let's go ahead and start playing the games that we were playing before. Before we do that, let's quickly make sure that we fully understand it. So here's the wall that gives us an understanding of the slope right along the edge, right? And it's literally along where we have the drainage happening. So when we get up to the top of the hill, right over here, this is that zone where we can turn the cars around. This is where we're planning to put the car, and we're placing most of the house over here. Let's start doing some planes right along the edge of the building. So now I'm just going to go back to my site, and I say, so I would like to study it right along here against this edge. That will give me that cross section number 2, I believe. So I'm going to place my components of the building right along here. Remember how we did it the opposite direction and where we were going to go? So now I'm going to go back and give myself a sense of what's happening with the garage. So it gives me a sense of where I would like to place things. So I'm going to just put a plane over here. So I'm going to go architecture component. I rather do that rather than floor. So you can call it a floor or a roof. I'm going to call it a roof for now. And then I'm going to call it 1, and that's perfectly okay going from here. I'm just going to make that roof for now this much, and I just wanted to go from extrusion of, I'm just going to go end at 200 feet because I can toy with it, okay? 200 feet, just so that it sticks big time out. And let's go through the cross section, study it, and come back and place it, okay? So that cross section was happening here. I don't know where that roof went. Let's backtrack and make sure we understand it. Nazi, get back to the site over here. See where I actually placed it. So it looks like the element that I created is happening here. That's the one that I actually was creating it. Let me just do it one more time. Make sure that I'm actually in the right place, because I think I lost it. All right, so Nazi, get your act together. It might be better to actually do a floor. I'm going to do a simple floor. Let's do a floor going from there to there. And I'm going to place it on level 5. And I'm going to be okay. And let's look at it in that cross section, this section, and just extrude the section so I am aware of what I just created. Section number 2 is right over here. Oh, that's where that silly thing was happening. Okay, so backtrack, Nazi. So let's go ahead and pull this guy up. So that's where my initial component was happening. So that's this. I'm just going to get it out of the way. This is where the other floor was actually happening. Let's make sure that we can see it. That's the other floor that we just made. That's the floor that we just made. So I just want to actually work off of this one. This is the easiest to work. Okay, so I'm just going to make it over here and let it, so I'm just going to let it come back down a little bit. So that just gives me a little bit of thickness. Let's look at it in 3D. That's where that is. The other floor was right over here. I'm just going to make it at 1 foot above so it sticks out. So that's where my other one would be. So let's go through the cross section, make sure that we actually understand where So that's this section. That's this piece. If I want, I can either work off of this one or that one. It's up to you. So right now, if I looked at it in 3D, that's where my garage is happening. I'm just going to rotate it so you can actually see where the garage is happening. Now I'm going to start working with the mass of the house. So the mass actually goes back to the site planning, and I'm just going to quickly make a mass of this house. So component, model in place. I'm just going to do a simple wall. That's fine for now. I'm just going to say OK, and I'm just going to do a simple extrude, and I can just outline it. And again, I'm just going to make it go 200 feet so I can see it and go through the cross section and analyze it. It was section 2 that I wanted to analyze it, so I really don't want it to go that far up. Here we go. And I don't want it to be that far down, so something to that extent, just so that I know what's going on. So looking at the 3D, that's where my mass is going to be. Now I'm going to make my mass transparent so that it's easier for me to understand it. So every time you pick the mass, you can go edit mass, and you can pick the mass. And when you go here, you can change the material. And when you change the material, you can give it a color if you like. Right now, yellow is fine, and I can actually create the appearance so that it's more transparent. So here is the transparency. I would like it to be transparent, and I would like the transparency to go relatively high. So it goes like this. So it gives me a sense of the shadow of what I have and how I would like to deal with that mass. So it's quite transparent here what I actually have. So I made both of these somewhat transparent so I can have fun with it. But you can create other lines, other patterns, and then make them less transparent or more transparent. It's up to you. Right now, it gives me a sense of where I want to go and how I want to deal with it. And you can change that transparency level even at a higher level. All right, so here what I did is I carried the roof of the garage through the mass of my building and the cross, and I actually allowed it to interlock so that the garage is no longer a separate module than this one. You can certainly get rid of that wall once you fully understand what's going on, temporarily or permanently. It's up to you. So the wall is a good indicator of what's going on. So it's just various ways that you can actually deal with it. So here's a good strategy in terms of quick massing study, understanding the site, definitely responding to the garage, which is such a demanding space, and then dealing with your open spaces, primary spaces versus secondary space.